Hey everyone, this is Stelly FD with Closeout, and in this video today we're going to talk about how to kill your no-show rates. You know, when you schedule a call or a demo and you're all pumped up and you're excited and you're all prepared for that meeting and nobody shows up. You're just sitting there waiting, nobody picks up the phone, nobody's logging into your online web conferencing. It is one of the most frustrating things and one of the biggest quota crushers out there. The reason why I wanted to record a video on the mistakes people make that increase their no-show rates and the remedies for them to decrease your no-show rates is that I just recently got an email and the subject line was, "Help! No-show rates are killing me, Stelly." This is word for word the actual subject line of the email. And there was a gentleman in there that was describing all the pain of the incredible amount of no-shows that he is getting when trying to make his sales calls. And this is not a single unique outlier. No-show rates are a big productivity crusher in sales in general. Scheduling calls and meetings in sales is this massive kind of blind spot that most sales organizations, salespeople don't pay close attention to, but that can be a massive lever and leverage in how productive you are and what kind of results you can drive, because it's kind of a black hole of energy and it sucks all your time and all your energy and a lot of your productivity into it if you don't pay attention. So I felt like not just giving him advice, but capturing some of this advice for everybody out there to help the world become a better place by this. All right, so before we go right into the subject of no-shows, how to prevent them, what causes them, is to talk a little bit about fundamentals on scheduling itself. So I'm going to touch on a few things fundamentally on how to schedule things in sales, and then we're going to go right into sharing with you some of the stats on what a good benchmark is for a no-show rate versus a bad benchmark for a no-show rate, and then we'll tell all the deadly no-show rates since that salespeople commit and what to do about it to instantly improve your no-show rates after you watch this video. All right, let's jump right into this. So a few scheduling basics for everybody. Number one, one of the things that drives me crazy is how many people send out sales emails ending it with an unclear call to action that is asking the prospect to decide when a good day or time for them is in an open question without suggesting dates and times, right? This is a no-go. Instead of just ending your emails with, "Hey, Stelly, just let me know a good time in the next few weeks to talk." This is very unclear. So you're giving me a few weeks to look at and pick a time and date, and then you don't even suggest how much time this will take. So how can I even pick something in my calendar? You're keeping things so vague. You think that because they're so vague, I'm more likely to oblige and give you a date and time and pick a spot. But because all the pressure of decision making is on my plate, I'm gonna opt out of this and decide not to respond. And then if I don't respond to it now, I will never respond to this. So the simplest hack or the simplest principle to follow is give me a specific date and time. Give me two options, Tuesday 10 a.m. or Thursday 11 p.m. Tell me the time zone, tell me for how long, 15-minute call, tell me the medium, it's Skype or I'm gonna call you on your cell or whatever else it is, and tell me the value of that call. And keep it very specific. And now I know some people will go, "Well, but what if Stelly looks at his calendar and Tuesday and Thursday are not good days?" Well, then it's obvious that I'm going to counter you and tell you, "No, these times don't work. This is a better time." But give me something specific to look at. I just want to know Tuesday 11 a.m. and then I go into my calendar and I zoom into Tuesday at 11 a.m. And if it's a free spot, chances are that I will mindlessly just go, "All right, I can afford 50 minutes at 11 a.m. next Tuesday," and I will just agree to your specific proposal. This has been tested many, many times before. I don't have the studies top of my mind, but I can guarantee you that you'll get a lot better results offering people two choices than offering them no choice at all. All right, next thing is use the power of right the fuck now. I've written about this, talked about this before. When you're on the phone with somebody, you have to schedule a follow-up call or demo or meeting. Don't hang up and send them suggested times for that follow-up meeting or call a few hours later. That's such a stupid mistake to make. When you have somebody on the phone, you have their full attention, you're at the peak of your rapport, you both agree to taking the next step, suggest the date and time right there and make it let them commit to it. Tell them, hey, do you have a calendar right in front of you? I do have mine. I have mine. Let's find a time next week and let's put it in the calendar right now. And then go, hey, how about Tuesday, 11 a.m.? And they go, well, no, Tuesday's tough. All right, what about Thursday? Well, Thursday's also tough. What looks good at your calendar if you look at next week? Well, maybe Wednesday, 2 p.m. And then you look at your calendar and you go, all right, boom, 2 p.m. Wednesday, deal done. Wait a second, I just sent you a calendar invite. Can you accept it? Yes, accepted. All right, we got it done. No more action item required. I'll talk to you next Wednesday. So when you have people on the phone, schedule right there and then. Don't hang up and then schedule with them a few hours later. It's going to make this a much more painful process. They will be busy by the time they've forgotten that they've talked to you this morning. A few days later, you'll have to follow up. Then they agree. It just delays the whole process, makes it more painful for everybody involved. When you have them on the phone, make the decision right there and then when the next call, next meeting is going to happen. The next thing is just consider time zones, consider days and the day of time, the day of the week, consider where in the quarter or what the seasonality of the year is. Just be considerate. So there's certain days in Western society that are not that great for scheduling meetings and calls, right? Monday mornings, typically a really tough time because Monday mornings, most people come back from the weekend. Usually a lot of companies have meetings Monday mornings that are internal anyways. There's a pile of work that has accumulated over the weekend. There's a pile of emails that have accumulated over the morning. It's a very distracting time usually. It's the time where people try to kind of catch up with what happened last week and kind of figure out what they need to do this week. It's not the best of times to schedule calls usually, right? There might be exceptions. But general rule of thumb, Monday mornings, not the greatest time. Friday afternoons, not the greatest time either, right? People check out, people want to leave earlier. People are already in kind of weekend mood. So that's an easy time for people to cancel your calls. Monday mornings, Friday evenings are probably just generically a good time where people might agree to a calendar invite that you sent them, but then just before you call them, they decide that it's not a good time to talk to you, right? So make sure that you're aware of what is a good day and time in the week. And there's some generic rules, just as I proposed, Monday mornings, Friday evenings. There's some general rules in terms of seasonality, right? So a day before Thanksgiving in the US, maybe not the greatest day. A few days before Christmas. So any kind of days before or after big holidays, again, the same rules apply as on weekends. People are gonna have to really push and rush through before they leave the office for the holidays. And when they come back from the holidays, they're gonna be in this like distracted, noisy mood where a lot of times people feel overwhelmed and then they feel very compelled to not pick up the phone when you call them. So just be aware of these things and make sure that you don't schedule at times where people tend to cancel or be a no-show in general because it's just a bad time for humans. And then if you can, as you establish your relationship with people and with prospects, learn what is a good day in their week. What do their deadlines look like? The more you understand the prospect, the better you're going to be able to schedule things around things. So if you know that they have a big launch coming up and they have this massive push in 3 weeks, you need to be sensitive to that, right? So maybe you don't want to schedule a call in 2 weeks, one day before their big launch. Maybe that's just stupid to do, right? So you understand why the principle of knowing your prospect really well, asking lots of questions, understanding their priorities, how all of that can help you schedule better with the prospect so there's a higher likelihood that they're going to show up and be ready and have time to offer you their attention and their energy. All right, and then two last tips on this. One of my personal favorites, I know lots of people hate this, but I tend to not want to schedule things way out in advance. So whenever I can, I want to schedule a call with you within the next 7 days. 14 days is pushing it. Anything beyond 3 weeks, I would rather get in touch with you in 2 weeks to then schedule something a week in advance. And here's the reason why. When you schedule something 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in advance, people are typically very agreeable to give you a free spot in their calendar 6 weeks from now because their calendar in 6 weeks is completely free. And they don't care. The commitment is so low. This is in 6 weeks. They think, oh my God, I don't care. Yeah, sure, in 6 weeks, let's talk. The problem is that these 6 weeks will go by like this. And by the time the day and time approaches where you had scheduled a call, because so much time had passed, number one, they won't remember why they scheduled the call with you. And number two, there's a very high likelihood that their calendar has filled up with a bunch of shit. And that day they're gonna feel like, oh my God, do I really have to do this call today? I don't know if I have time today. And they will have a higher likelihood to be a no-show or be a reschedule than to actually show up, because it's been 2 months. They don't really care about this anymore. They don't remember this anymore. And there's a high chance that today, for many reasons that they just made up in their mind, is not a good day for this call. So I made this as a rule for myself, and this goes both ways. I don't allow anybody to put anything in my calendar 6 weeks from now, because I know there's a high chance that once those 6 weeks go by and I look at that call, I'm like, why the fuck did I agree to this call right now? Today is a horrible day to have this call, right? So don't schedule things that are way in advance. Try to schedule something within the next 7 to 14 days. If they can't commit to that, just follow up with them and say, you know what, in 2 weeks I'm going to get in touch, and then we can schedule something for the following week. But try to schedule things fairly short in terms of timeline, so people remember why they did it. They have a good grasp of what the next week looks like, and if they can or cannot afford to book a spot. I think all that will make a drastic improvement in your no-show and your scheduling rates. And then last but not least, if you can, use some of the tools and technologies that are out there. We're going to link in this video to a post we made on offering you, a wide range of scheduling tools that are out there available to salespeople, from, calendar scheduling tools to virtual assistants. Use technology, use people to take over the scheduling and rescheduling part of your day. Don't be slowed down by that, because it can cause a massive drop in productivity, and the few bucks that you pay a month to have a virtual assistant or have using some kind of a calendaring scheduling tool, you're gonna make X times over if you just close 1 or 2 more deals, or even your quality of life increasing because you don't have to every day be scheduling and rescheduling things. All right, enough about the scheduling part of things. 2 quick things to launch us off, which is the first question that I asked to this person that was like, Stally, help me. No-shows are killing me right now. What was my number 1 question? What is your no-show rate? And this is my question to you. What is your no-show rate? I'll tell you that most people don't know what that is. And even the people that scream that no-shows are killing them are not fully aware of what their actual no-show rate is. What is a no-show rate? Well, what is the percentage of scheduled calls that don't happen because the person doesn't show up? You could get even fancier and separate no-shows with reschedules, right? You could have a rescheduling issue, and that's a different issue than a no-show issue. No-show means somebody just didn't pick up the phone or didn't show up to the meeting without letting you know. That's a really bad thing. Rescheduling is also quite bad, but not as bad as no-show, right? Reschedule means that somebody, usually fairly short notice, sends you an email and tells you they can't make the meeting or the call and they want to find another time for it. Right? That's a problem as well. It still means that at 11 a.m. on Tuesday morning, you were planning to give a presentation to this prospect and now you won't, right? So this is an issue, but rescheduling is not as drastic an issue as no-show. Obviously, because the customer still felt engaged enough, or the prospect still felt engaged enough to let you know that the time doesn't work, versus the no-show is somebody that just goes quiet and didn't even feel the need to let you know that they were not going to pick up the phone, right? That's a relationship that's at a much worse place than somebody sending you an email and asking you if you can find another time for it. So what is a no-show rate that is, a benchmark of acceptable? I think that if you have a no-show rate that's between 10 to 20%, that's not great, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, especially if you do a lot of cold prospecting. Right? It depends how warm your prospects are. If you get really high no-show rates, very kind of at the end of the funnel, you've already had 3 or 4 calls with them and then people don't show up, that's much more of a dramatic signal that something is going terribly wrong in your sales process, than if it's at the top of the funnel, right? It's the first, you send them a cold email, they replied and said, yes, I want to have a call with you, and they don't show up. If your no-show rate at the top of the funnel is like 30%, that might not be that dramatic, but if your no-show rate is even 15% at the very end of the funnel after 3, 4, 5, 6 calls, that might be massively dramatic and something of big concern. Why is this sales rep, or why are you, after you had 3 or 4 really substantial conversations with somebody, why are so many people not showing up to the final call without letting you know? Right? That could signal to a real problem in your conversation, your sales approach, whatever it is. So 10 to 20% of no-show, no-shows are always horrible, but 10 to 20% I think is within the realm of this is probably normal in some ways or others. There are ways that we're going to try to improve this number, but that's kind of where it needs to be. If your no-show rate is like 30, 40, 50%, you're in trouble, man. Or woman, there's a real fucking issue here, right? There's something that's fundamentally broken, and you need to fix this. A lot of people they opt in to not pick up the phone and not let you know, and they kind of rather disappear than let you know that they can't make it or pick up the phone, although they've committed to it before. They've agreed to this event. That's a real issue. So 10 to 20% no-show rate, that's kind of a benchmark. If you're better than that, awesome. If you're worse than that, horrible. We need to fix this ASAP. If you're somewhere there, no matter what the number is, don't try to fix this overnight. Try to get better at it over time. Just make it a focus to improve that number until it's close to nothing. Until almost everybody shows up, or very rarely people ask to reschedule things, right? The closer you can get to zero in terms of no-show and reschedules, the more amazing you are, and the more amazing your funnel is, and the more engaged your prospects are, right? So having said all this, let's look at some tactics some reasons why no-show rates are so high and tactics to get them low. So some of the fundamental reasons, why do people no-show, right? The people are no-shows. I mean, the most acceptable reason is probably an emergency, right? Something happened in my life that was unexpected, very close to the time I had agreed to this call, that prevented me from being on my phone, on my laptop, at my workplace, an emergency at home, I got sick, some big distracting event in the world or in my life. That's kind of the most understandable reason for people not showing up. Something happened. They had an accident. Something happened. A family reason. Something dramatic happened in their life, and they just couldn't be there for that call. We totally get that. That happens. It's part of life. So that's why I think it's almost impossible to have a zero no-show rate over long enough periods of time. But that's kind of the most understandable reason. Everything else is actually a pretty bad reason. The next reason why people don't show up is that when they are surprised when they realize that they agreed to a call or a meeting, and in that moment they don't feel like it. They don't think it's a priority. They don't understand or remember the value of it. They'd rather not do it, and because it's usually very late, they decide to just ignore it versus letting you know. Maybe because they also kind of not just have they decided that they don't want to have this call right now. They're thinking, I should have never agreed to this call in general. And they're opting out of the whole experience, not just this call. They're kind of trying to opt out of the relationship by giving you the silent treatment, by not, manning or womaning up and telling you, hey, this was a bad idea. I don't want to have a call with you. They kind of just go silent. And they think if they ignore you a little bit long enough, you'll just go away, and it's going to go away. It's a really bad reason, right? There is obviously no-show rates that are just like people were in meetings that were too long, people made a mistake in their calendar. So there's not any big emergency. It's just somebody not being in control of their time and their calendar and being on top of their shit. That can happen. That's a personality trait. Some people are just not amazing at running their own calendars and their days. And then there's many, many other reasons. But the two reasons that are kind of part of life is the emergency one and the one where people are just a little flaky or don't have their shit together. They'll have to deal with this. This is humanity. This is part of life. But the one reason that is at the core a real issue and is your full responsibility are the no-shows where people decide, I don't want to have this call anymore. I don't remember why I agreed to this, and I don't want to agree to this anymore. That's the issue where you are fully responsible for it. And here's how we're going to turn this around, how we are going to attempt to fix this. Number one is most people don't truly sell the value of the call or the meeting or the demo. They just think that people implicitly will always remember and understand the value of it. So you have a first call, let's say it's a qualifying call, and then you agree to have a real demo call with them. You never sold them on the value of the demo. Why is this demo call going to be worth my 15 minutes? What am I going to learn? Are we going to uncover? How is this going to create real value? How is this going to make us money, save us time, make us accomplish whatever our goals are, or eliminate the pains that we are living day in, day out in our work today. Selling the value of the call is one of the biggest sales opportunities that are missed today. People just go, hey, this call was really good. I think there's a really good fit. Let's have a demo call next week. Well, all right, okay. What about next Wednesday at 5 p.m.? Okay, I think 5 p.m. I can do. All right, so I've just sent you an email for a 1-hour demo call next Wednesday, 5 p.m. I'm really excited about that demo call. Bye-bye. And they hang up. Now, next Wednesday approaches, and I look at my calendar and I go, I agreed to a 1-hour demo call of some kind of a product. And now what do I think? I imagine 60 minutes of you clickety-clicking on every little feature and screen sharing me to death and me being overwhelmed. And I'm thinking, am I going to make a buying decision today about this? Probably not. I need another week or two of doing more research. And all of a sudden, the value of giving you 60 minutes of my life right now seems very, very low. You've never sold me on what am I going to learn in those 60 minutes? Why does it need to be 60 minutes? Right? I'm making a claim that it shouldn't. But what am I going to learn? What is the value you're going to create? What are we going to tackle? You need to sell me on the demo call. The demo call or the follow-up call, every meeting, every call is a product in itself that needs to be sold. You need to give me a value proposition. You need to sell me on that value proposition, and I need to truly buy it. If I truly buy it, I'm going to be more compelled to show up than when I don't. And most of the times, people don't. And you don't just need to sell me on the phone why this is going to be valuable, but then you need to sell me again in the calendar invite that you send me. This is another mistake people make. They don't even send calendar invites. So make sure that once you agree to a date and time and you sold me on the value of it, you send me a calendar invitation. And in that calendar invitation, the title of the calendar invitation can't be called demo, right? Think about the calendar invite as a product of itself. Think of it as like a blog post or a cold email. It needs to have a compelling subject line, a compelling title. It can't just be demo. Demo. 2 weeks later, after we agreed to this, I see something in my calendar at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, and it just says demo. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I click on it. It has nothing else other than your email and my email as people that have RSVP'd yes to this. And I'm like, who is this person again? What is this demo again? Don't make that mistake. Sell me. That calendar invite is a product, is a pitch, is an advertising, a little ad in my calendar that should give me a compelling reason to join, right? So if you can put the value prop in that calendar invite, do it. It could just be something like, 15 or 30 minutes to decide next CRM, or CRM, 30 minutes with CRM experts to get to decision, or deciding if Closer is the right fit. 30 minutes, whatever it is. I mean, we could experiment and be playful with this. Anything is better than 99% of everything your competition and you have been doing up until this point, which is usually being very mindless about the way you call these calendar events. So give it a compelling title, and then in the calendar invite, there's a little box where you can add notes. Resell me on it. Sally, here's the 3 things we're gonna get done on this call. Here's why this call is important. Here's why this call is gonna create value for you. Here's why I'm excited about doing this and fully committed to it. Resell me. So when I click on that calendar invite and I go, what is this again? You resell me. You have a little pitch in there that should sell me on the idea that I really need to take this call. Send me an invite. Make that calendar invite an advertising, a pitch for why I should take the call. Make sure to send me reminders, right? You can use, depending on your industry and depending on what kind of prospects you have, you can use email reminders. You can call me and leave me a voicemail as a reminder. You can send text and SMS reminders. You can remind me on social media if you want to, right? I don't know. In many verticals, this will be weird and a little stalky. You have to figure out what is acceptable and what is effective in your vertical with your prospects, with your type of customers. But make sure that you send me reminders. You remind me of the call, and not just remind me of the call, remind me of the value of the call, right? Why is this going to be important for my life? Why is this going to be compelling? If we agree to a call, send me a quick email, not just the invite, but a quick email summarizing what we agreed to and why this call is going to be important. And a day before, 2 days before, resell me on the idea why this call is going to be truly valuable and game-changing for me. Another quick tip on no-shows is that whenever you can, or one principle you should adhere to as a salesperson yourself is to never be a no-show yourself with your prospect. Obviously, that goes without saying, but even to never, ever, ever reschedule if it's not absolutely necessary. If it's not like a massive emergency, don't reschedule. If you're somebody that schedules calls with your prospects and then 2-3 days before sends them an email and asks them to reschedule because it's inconvenient, if you do that with them, it basically tells them that it's okay for them to do that with you as well. It basically says that when we agree to a date and time, when we agree to a call, that agreement is very weak. The salesperson, I might ask you to change that agreement. So it instantly signals to them that it's okay for them not to take these agreements very seriously. If you open that door, if you reschedule a lot, your prospects are going to be rescheduling and being no-shows because they're not going to take these calendar invites that seriously. All right, so don't do that. The next thing is, one really effective thing is your no-show rate is really high. That you might want to experiment with is to really, there's two motivating factors in life. One is pain and one is pleasure, right? It's as simple as that. There's two things that move humans. One is wanting to move towards something because of the signal of pleasure, and one is to want to move away from something because of the signal of pain. Now, I'm not going to go into a psychology session here, but and it's not something that I prefer, but it's a matter of fact that pain is a much bigger motivator for humans than pleasure. Right? So one thing that you can do is to really push on that pain button on your final reminder before a call and really push even a little bit of the guilt button. So I'll tell you how to do that. One final reminder, maybe 1 or 2 days before the call. So send them a reminder, not just tell them, hey, I'm really excited about our call tomorrow and here's all the valuable things that we're going to go through, but to actually tell them what kind of a commitment that has been for you. So tell them, hey, I've spent 6 hours or whatever it is. I spent 3 hours putting together a proposal. I spent all this time talking internally with different team members, your specific case, and we all are, the entire company is in agreement that this is a unique opportunity and a great fit for both sides. I'm very committed to this call and to this opportunity. I've invested all this time and energy. And I'm so excited that we both are going to keep our commitment tomorrow at 11 a.m., jump on this call and really make this something that will move the needle for both companies and really make a big difference. If you sell them on the value, but then if you guilt them a little bit by telling them how many people you've told about this call, how much you've invested in researching and preparing this call, how committed the company you are to this call, just going to make it a little harder for people to cancel, even if they want to, right? And this is not my favorite tactic, but it's one that can be very effective. People will want to cancel the call because they just got busy today or something else popped up. And then when they read that you've talked to 6 other people in the company about this call and everybody's really committed and excited, just the mental image that if they cancel, you're going to have to tell lots and lots of other people that call didn't happen, will create pain for people. Right? Will make them go, I don't really want to say no to this person because, lots of people know that this call is happening. It's a weird psychological thing. So you can use guilt as a tool and experiment with it, right? Don't overdo it. You need to be very light on it, just like with everything good in life, salt, pepper. If you overdo it just a little bit, you might ruin the entire dish, right? So here, don't overdo it on the guilt trip. Just a little bit of telling them how much you've invested might make them a little bit more invested or make it harder for them to pull out of the call. If they are a no-show, if you do all these things and they still just don't show up, you need to have a follow-up and follow-through strategy, right? And I've talked about the value of follow-up, and I'll link up in this video on how you need to think about the follow-up and follow-through. Once somebody commits to something for me and then they go quiet, I will follow up for a very long time to make it happen. And I will take all the responsibility of their relationship on my plate. I will assume that the story is not that they want to reject me, but that the story is truly that they got busy or distracted and something else has popped up. And I will make sure that I will follow up with them In the follow-up, I don't use guilt, right? Before the call, I might use guilt a little bit, might play with it, but in the follow-up and follow-through, I won't use guilt because I don't want them to feel even worse that they didn't show up. And then if people feel really, really bad about it, they might never respond to you just because they feel so guilty. So it's a tricky balance. You might use guilt for them to really show up, but if they haven't showed up, you don't want to use guilt at all as a tool set because it's going to make them imagine it being a very painful experience to talk to you again because they're so guilty, right? So it's a fine balance. It's a tricky thing. But you want to have a follow-up strategy and game plan in place and make sure that you follow up and follow through with them multiple times after they have not showed up to make another call happen. And then if you follow up, 3, 4, 5, 8 times and they still haven't responded or replied at some point, or so if they haven't shown up and they don't reply to your follow-ups, or if they reschedule multiple times or they haven't showed up, you send them an email to reschedule, they reschedule with you, and then the second call they're not showing up either, which is really a little bit of an asshole type of behavior, right? If they don't show up multiple times, or if they reschedule multiple times, or if they're not responding to your follow-up emails for multiple times, you might want to use the breakup email tactic. You might want to take it away from them, right? So instead of chasing them, you want to chase them for a little bit in a very positive, uplifting way, but then eventually you want to stop and take it away from them. I linked to a blog post where I described the breakup email tactic. It's a massively successful email template where you basically tell them, you know what, I followed up 8 times, I haven't heard from you, so I'm taking you out of my list of prospects. You will never hear from me again. I want to talk to you. I just assume that something has gotten in the way. Whenever it is a good time for you, here's my contact information. You can get in touch with me at any time. I'm always going to be excited, but you will never hear from me again. I'm going to stop sending you emails or reaching out to you now. And just that act of taking it away and telling them you'll never hear from me again will create a massive jump in engagement again. People will literally go, no, I'm sorry, it was this and this and this. I really still want to talk to you. So use the breakup email template. I'll link to it in this video in the blog post. Once you've followed up multiple times or they've been a no-show or reschedule multiple times. And then last but not least, just as a general comment in productivity, some no-shows will still happen no matter how brilliant you are. Plan for those no-shows. Make sure that when that happens, when something gets canceled in your calendar in the day, you don't just randomly fill up the time, because if you randomly fill up the time, you will fill it up with random shit. And it's gonna devalue your day and time, and with that, your productivity and your ability to create success and value. So make sure that every week before the week starts, you plan for that 30 minutes to 60 minutes of what will I do if some calls this week get rescheduled or we get a no-show. How do I fill up that time in the most productive fashion? Make the decision beforehand and then follow through on that decision. Don't see that as free time. Don't look at somebody didn't show up at a 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. call planned with them. They didn't show up. Now I have 1 hour of free time. How do I want to fill it? No. When you have that hour of time, know what you're going to fill up with it. Say, awesome, another hour of prospecting time. I was planning to have 2 or 3 no-shows this week anyways, so every time I get a no-show, I'm filling it up with prospecting. Oh, awesome, an hour of free time popped up, so I know that every time I get a no-show, that no-show time is the prospecting, or it's follow-up time, or it's writing proposals time, or it is something else, planning time. Do something productive. I'm even okay if you just go work out, or go for a run, or go meditate, but do something high quality, something productive. Don't just read emails, read blog posts, send some emails. Don't just randomly pollute that hour with bullshit. All right, that's all I got for how to deal with no-shows, why no-shows exist, what the benchmark should be, how do you crush those benchmarks and improve your no-show rates. If you have any comments, any experiences, any tactics that you want to share in the comment section, please let us know. If you need more help or want to get in touch with me directly, just shoot me an email at stelly@close.io, and make sure to go to blog.close.io and subscribe to the blog once or twice a week. Highly tactical, highly strategic advice on sales, selling, hustling, entrepreneurship here from us. This is it from me for this video, and I hope that you crush your no-show rates and get a lot more successful moving forward with your calendar and your scheduling. All right, let's go get them.